Prior to this session, we started the book off together, introduced it together, and I've asked the children to keep a reading journal where they've jotted down their opinions related to the objective of the actions of Lila, noting down the main characteristics of Lila and her feelings in certain parts of the story. Okay, you've finished updating your reading diaries from what you've read independently, and I asked you to focus on Lila, the main character, and to empathise with Lila. Think about her feelings and her actions. And what I want you to do is just to turn to the person next to you for about 20-30 seconds and in your own words describe to your partner what you think Lila is like as a person.
Right, do you know Lila, when she was little she used to be very cross, right, but now she's changed her characteristics, so she's not so cross. She just gets on with things and she's really, really brave and confident.
She's really determined because, you know, because she really wants to be a firework maker and she's going to be doing it.
Even though she is a bit bossy, she's got her heart in the right place. Because, I mean, when Chulak came to tell her that her dad was going to get executed, she was like, take me there straight away, I've got to see him, I've got to stop him getting killed.
Okay, so you've had a chance to discuss with your partner. I'm going to ask you now what you think about Lila, her actions and what she's like as a person. So, can I start off with you, Carl? What do you think?
She's determined.
And why do you say she's determined?
Because when she was climbing the hill, she lost a foot and a shoe, and cut her knee. She didn't make a fuss about it. She just put it out of her mind and carried on.
Good. Has anybody else got any evidence from the text to say that she was determined?
Because when Rambashi said, I've got this great new plan, she's just like, I don't care what your new plan is, I want to get up there and I'm going to get up there now. Brilliant. Anybody else got another characteristic of what you think Lila is like as a person? Bryn?
She's brave because when she was inside Mount Merripit, she didn't really worry about burning herself when she walked into the fire and just went into the fire. And
right, if that had been you, what would you have done?
I might have went back and found them at the water and then come back again.
Okay. Were you surprised that she went ahead? Did you think she would turn back?
Not really, because she travelled a long way just to get to Mount Merripit, and she wouldn't want to stop now.
Okay. When she met those pirates, it could have been quite frightening, that, couldn't it? Yeah. But how did she handle it?
She laughed.
Now, why do you think she laughed?
Because she saw the daggers. They weren't really daggers, they were just wooden with tin foil.
Tin foil, so she realised straight away. How would you have felt if you'd have been realised you're on a boat with pirates and they pulled daggers out?
I would have jumped off and swam for my life.
Right, you would have jumped off and swam for your life.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anybody else got anything else about Lila as a person?
She used to be really cross with herself and mad, but now she's changed her characteristics.
Well, let's just go back. How do you know she used to be cross and mad? What evidence have you got for that opinion?
Her father told Chulak about the secret, but he didn't.
Secret to become
a firework maker, but he didn't tell Lila, and she was really frustrated and annoyed and mad with him. So
how did she show that anger? Do you remember what she did to really show?
She wrote a letter saying your ex-daughter, and that betrayed him.
Right.
Mislaid him.
Like disown him.
Yeah.
Right. Very good. Sophie.
Well, she's very determined because she just walked off from the pirates, and also she's very strong-minded because if she does something, if she says she's going to do something, she does it.
Brilliant, brilliant. And so she's going to become a firework maker, do you think?
Yeah.
You do think that, right? Okay. Now, why do you think she is so determined to become a firework maker?
Because her father's taught her a lot, and she's invented her own fireworks, like the self-igniting crackle dragons, and she's done firework making, being burnt and things since she was really young. So she reckons she can do it when she gets older and be a professional firework maker.
Brilliant, yeah, brilliant. Any other reasons, Erica?
Because her dad told Chulak the 3 gifts and about the secret of becoming a firework maker, but he wouldn't tell her, so she wanted to prove it to him that she could be a firework maker as well.
Excellent.
Father said to Lila that she was too ladylike to become a firework maker. She should be a dancer. But Lila said, no, I won't be a dancer. I'll prove to you I'll be a firework maker. Just watch me.
Yeah, so her father is wrong to think that. Yeah, I think that excellent answers, well done. I just want to check your understanding. When she went to Mount Merope to meet the firework maker Razvani, and she asked for the royal sulphur, didn't she? What she thought she'd need to become a firework maker. And he said to her, but the royal sulphur is an illusion. What does that mean? Bryn?
You can see it, but it's not really there.
It's not really there?
You think it in your mind.
You think it in your mind. So did she have any, so was there any royal sulphur there?
No.
There wasn't any?
Illusion's a bit like a mirage, what you see. But you can see it in your mind, but it's not really there.
Excellent. Now, right at the end of the last chapter you read, she heard some terrible news, didn't she, about her father? What do you predict she will do next?
I think she's going to try and save her father somehow.
All right, so I want to ask you now, do you think she's going to be as equally determined to save her father as she was to become a firework maker, or not? Thomas?
Yes, because I think she loves her father very much. And she won't let anything happen to him, even though she wrote your ex-daughter, because having a father is more important than being a firework maker, because if you be a firework maker and not have a father, you won't have you'll be alone.
Okay, but I will come back on that one. Do you remember that letter she wrote ex-daughter, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you think she really meant that?
No.
And what do you think, why do you think she wrote it then?
Just to getting really worried for what he said to her about becoming a dancer, that she can't become a firework maker.
So it was said in a moment of anger?
Yeah.
I don't actually think he'll put as much determination in as he did to become, as she did to become a firework maker. Because it's like Lila, it's when she says something, she sticks to it. And she said that she's his ex-daughter. So I think she might stick to it, but she'll probably still go and try and save him, because it's still important to her. But she won't put as much determination in as she did to become a firework maker, I don't think.
Okay, so we've got two different views there, haven't we, about levels of determination to probably save her father. Right, now just before we start reading today, chapter 6, I just want to go through a strategy check. What do you do if you become stuck on a word that you've not come across before? Bryn?
You can split it up and look at the suffixes and prefixes.
Okay, yeah. Claire?
You can look at the text and use connections.
You look at the text and make connections. Thomas?
Look how the word is modified, like warrior comes from war.
Okay, and see if you can make connections from that as well. Okay. Now, your objective today is, as you're reading, I want you to focus on Lila and her actions and her feelings at certain parts of the chapter, so then you can think about that when I question of why she reacted in different ways. Is that okay? So I want you to read chapter 6.
But after hours and hours of pounding and trudging and half running on blistered feet, they came to the outskirts of the city. The sun was setting, of course.
Just stop there. It says half running on blistered feet. So how do you think she's feeling at that time? What's she going through?
Pain in her feet.
Right, lots of pain. Is there anywhere else pain, apart from physical pain in the feet?
Pain in the heart, so father.
Pain in the heart, yeah? Because
could be killed.
A father could be killed, I think that's, yeah, wonderful, well done.
Even the special and particularly general could hardly restrain a snigger at the idea of an animal asking to speak to the king.
And the crowd parted, and at once word had reached the palace, and the king had sent his special particular bodyguard to escort Hamlet back to his royal home.
To what, sorry?
Escort.
What do you think escort means?
It means to take him back to where he went before.
Yeah, got to take him back to the palace, isn't it? Have some of you finished reading? Yeah. Okay, well, while you're waiting for the others to finish, can you just want to get a dictionary? And I want you to look up the word prostrate, that was on page 67 at the bottom, and just have a look what that means. Do you know where P comes? Okay. And what does it say, Claire?
lying face downwards.
Okay, so do you want to go back to page 67? It says, prostrate yourselves, said the special and particular general, and grovel. And prostrate yourself means to go face down on the ground, okay? Because obviously they're in front of the king. Now, I asked you to think about Lila while you were reading that. And the first thing I want to say to you is on the top of page 67 again, where you are. It said Lila was nearly weeping with fear and impatience. Were you surprised by this emotion?
I was surprised because she put X Dodge on the letter, and I thought, well, she's not going to be exactly weeping about it, but she's still going to be a bit upset, but she's not going to be nearly weeping about it.
Okay, so what does this tell you about Lila then? What does that tell you about her emotions now?
She's not really cried much in the story. Or like when she fell down the hill and like cut her knee, I would have probably cried. And she didn't, she just carried on and didn't make a fuss about it. So she's like changed her image.
Okay, and it's all to do with her father, isn't she? She's worried about her father being killed, isn't she? Okay, and I mean the prospect of facing the fire fiend and not having the gifts and the ghost threatening her, basically say, oh, she will die. How did she react to that? What did she do then? Can you remember?
She just carried on.
She just carried on, so she didn't cry then, did she? So I think you were quite right. I think there really is a big change now in Lila. Later on that page, it said, Lila's heart was beating like a bird caught in a net. What sort of language is that?
It's a simile.
It's a simile. Now, why do you think Philip Pullman has used that simile?
It shows she's very worried for her father.
Yes. Anything else to show she's very worried?
Because when a bird gets trapped in a net, it's moving really quickly and it wants to get out, and that heart's beating really fast. And that's the same. It's like giving it to Lila, so her heart's beating really fast. So it describes it well.
Describes her well, yes. Very good. On page 69, as she was trying to persuade the king to let her father go free, he shouted, "Enough!" And she stopped, didn't she? She stopped speaking instantly. Were you surprised by this or not?
Well, if it's the king and she's sort of like only a little child, I think I'd stop. Something's like, oh dear, I'm in front of the king and he's just told me to shut up, I better do it straight away.
Okay, but does anybody want to come back on that with another view?
So I think the king's kind of like the fire fiend, and she didn't really stop talking when the fire fiend was talking to her. So I'm quite surprised that she stopped talking when the king was talking to her.
Yes, because he had a big, powerful voice, it said, didn't it, as well? Right. Okay. Back to page 68. I want somebody to read out the middle paragraph there. His Majesty stood in front of them. Well, Bryn, do you want to read it out? And then I'm going to ask you, how did Lila feel?
His Majesty stood in front of them. Lila could see his golden sandals. Please, Your Majesty, my father, Lao Chan. You haven't? He isn't? Is he still alive?
Right, I think you read that really well. You've actually, by your tone of voice, you've actually answered the question I was going to say. And you might know the question is going to focus on those difficult words that you had, anxiety and anguish. So they use anxiety and anguish to describe Lila. How is she feeling at that moment in time? Erica?
Worried and concerned and wanting to know if he's alive or not.
Okay, very good. Yes, I think those words like anxiety and anguish means worried
Anxious.
and concerned. Anxious, very good indeed. Now, when they met, they just hugged, didn't they? They hugged very, very tightly together. They didn't say a word, they just hugged. Were you surprised by this, or do you think that was quite appropriate?
I think it was appropriate.
Why is that then?
Well, they both had like lots to say to each other. Like Lao Chan was like, probably going to say, like, I was so worried about you, and Lila was like going to say, I'm really sorry, but it was just like the point of the moment. They just were there together, so they didn't feel like talking. They just went and hugged each other.
Very good. I think you're quite right. I think a lot of emotions were at that point, weren't they? They were glad to see each other. Pardon?
Breathtaking, they couldn't speak. We're so
breathtaking.
happy to be with each other.
I think that's brilliant, yeah. I think that's in a nutshell, that, Thomas. Well done. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do now, something we've done before, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. I'm going to ask Erica, first of all. You can start the ball rolling, Erica. Do you want to be Lila?
Okay.
Does anyone like to ask Lila a question? Go on then, Bryn. You start one.
What did you feel like when you heard about the competition about fireworks?
I knew that we were going to win it. I wasn't going to let my father die because when I saw those vines in the jungle, I had the greatest idea. So I knew that we were going to win.
How did you feel when you was walking back from Mount Merapi to get to the palace?
I was really worried. I just needed to get to my father because I didn't want to see him there dead, and I'd not said goodbye to him or anything, or said that I was really sorry about me saying that I was his ex-daughter.
Ah, so can I just ask a question there? Were you feeling guilty then on the way back for writing that letter?
I was feeling guilty about saying that I was his ex-daughter, but I was still quite mad with him.
Thomas, can we ask you to be Lila?
Okay.
All right, somebody else would like to ask a question?
What about if you leave the competition? How will you feel?
Well, I won't lose a competition. I'm going to win. That's a problem. I won't lose.
I don't think you get anywhere there, are you, Sophie? No? Any more questions?
Were you scared when the fire imps were dancing around you, and did you think they'd attack you?
No, I wasn't frightened at all because that was only the beginning of the inside of the cave. I knew I had to get to my goal, the fire fiend, and persuade him. A few little monsters won't put me off. I'm too confident. It won't put me off.
Very confident like that. Anybody else got another question? Okay, right. Well, you have got one more chapter left. Okay, in this book. It's setting up. What do you call it when it's coming to the end of a book? What's it building to?
Climax.
It's building to a climax. Okay. And did you think, in a traditional tale, was this a suitable climax, Erica?
Well, it was like quite an unusual, because it's like a competition, so you're having to realise are they going to win or are they going to lose? Is Lavchan going to die or is he going to live?
Okay. And what is the feeling in the group? Do you think they will win or do you think they will lose the competition? As a prediction. Sophie?
They're probably going to win because in traditional tales they always have a happy ending. So I think we will win.
Okay. Well, what I want you to do is the next time in independent reading, I want you to read chapter 7, the last chapter, and I want you to record Lila's thoughts and feelings at the end of the story, and I want you to put about how you felt about the story. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? The best parts, and making sure that you refer back to the text and you put your evidence from the text to back up your answers. Is that clear? Okay, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, well done. Thank you.